Hello, everybody. Previously, we did a video on how to install Autotask Workplace, which is now Datto Workplace. And we're going to run through another video that's going to be a quick tutorial on some of the basic settings that you may want to choose or things that you may need to change. Initially, when you install Workplace, you're going to have these two icons on your desktop. Depending on what you have, they may be mixed up and scattered through the icons you already have. This one here, Datto Workplace, has a little manila folder. If you double click on it, it should take you to wherever you've decided to store your data. In the previous video, I showed you guys how to create the C drive location for data. So if everybody's done that, really it's going to take you to the C drive and into that same folder. Now, initially when you install Datto, most likely you're not going to have any of your data yet. If you go into this icon here, Datto Workplace Online, if you have the older installation, it will be Autotask Workplace Online. It's going to ask you for your password. And then it will take you to the web portal for anything you may need to do from there. Things that I like to use the web portal for are primarily sharing out my projects or my folders in a different manner. If I come in here, I can see all of the projects I have. I can come in here and I can do some sharing. I can reassign a folder to somebody else. Maybe I don't need it anymore. I want somebody else to be in charge of it. I can pass it off here. I can actually download a copy. I can restore a copy. I can upload more files. I could add a folder. I could add any of these documents. I could create a new project altogether. In Datto or Workplace, all your folders basically are going to be called projects. So, if I create a new folder, I can create it here or I can create it back here. It'll be considered a project and it will go basically to the same page. So the other settings that you may be interested in are more so down here in the desktop client. One of the things I like to do is I like to be able to see that icon all the time. I like to know what Datto Workplace is doing. I like to have it quickly available. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to click the little up arrow or this caret here, grab that icon and drag it. So click on it and hold it with your left, drag it down here and let it go. And that will put it down here near your time all the time. So instead of having it up here where it's hidden, you now have it down here. You can do the same thing with pretty much any icon there. I like to line up the stuff that I most commonly use or the stuff that I like to see the most and put it down there. But today we're working on Datto. It's right here. If you click on the Datto icon. Now, if you are still on the Autotask installation, this will be a small padlock. It's almost like a heart-shaped padlock, but it'll have the same icons in the center, the checkbox, or it may have the swirling arrows, kind of like what you see here if it's downloading that data at the time. So if I click on this, I get presented with these options. Here is where we go back to the online web portal again, which is the same as clicking here. Here takes us to the same place where our data should be. If I click on it again and I go into Preferences, I can see here, this is the checkbox that's requiring me to enter the password every time I want to go into the online workplace. So if I were to not want to do that, I would uncheck it. And it's going to make me put my password in one last time. Now, once I click OK there, it's going to save it. And if I want to go into the web portal again, or web workplace online, it will automatically take me there and it's going to log me into that web page. So again, if I click here, sometimes this is the quickest way to find the workplace online. Without a password from this computer, it will take me back and log me into this page. So most of the preferences or most of the settings we're going to be looking at right now are going to be in here. I click on here and go into Preferences. Allow me to remotely access my computer. This is something very, very unique with Datto Workplace. I like it. It's a new feature. What it does is it allows you to go into the web portal and it allows you to access files that may be on your computer that you have not chosen to sync. So say, for instance, I create a folder out here on my desktop. We'll call it not synced data. I can fill that folder with data, and that is not in my sync folder. So the way Datto Workplace works and most other sync programs is they've actually designated a work area that we've chosen to name SJC Workplace here, that you put all of your data inside, and it will synchronize to the cloud, then back down to your devices. So this folder is not in my sync, which means it will not synchronize to my cloud, which means it will not synchronize to all of my other devices. Well, with Datto, if I have this checked, I am able to go into the Workplace online from anywhere. All I have to do is have this website right here. I can log into there, and I can go into those devices through here, and I can remote access those files. Not only those files, but any files on this device. So go into desktop, here's my not synced data. If I had files in there, I could then access those files here from the web portal, wherever I'm at. I could be on vacation in Alaska on a public computer. Not that that's a good idea, but should I choose to, I could access the data that I wanted to on my local computer that is not even synced. That is very unique to Datto Workplace. We've already talked about the online workplace, or the Workplace Online, which you can turn the password requirement off here. Start Workplace Desktop when I log in. This is a default setting that for the most part you want to leave alone. Every time you restart the computer, it will basically automatically restart Workplace and start your sync up and everything else for you as soon as you log into the PC. And that's one of the things that you really want to be able to do, or you want it to do. I mean, you want it to start working without your manual input. You want to log in and have it just take off, start synchronizing data, and be available. So I would not mess with that. I would leave that one alone. From there, we can go then into preferences again, and we get some more options in here. Automatically sync. This is what most of you will want. If you choose automatically sync right here, then that means it's going to automatically download any new projects that are created. So in most cases, most of you are not going to be managing projects. You're going to have an administrator, or you're going to have us managing the folders that are turned into projects for you. And what will happen there is, should we create a new one, if you have automatically sync selected, your device is automatically going to start pulling that new project down. Ask me before syncing. That might be something that you want on like a laptop that has a small hard drive or limited amount of storage space available. You know, maybe you have 5 or 6 projects and 3 of them are just incredibly large. Maybe you don't need those on your laptop. If not, then this is where you can make that choice. You can say, ask me before syncing. That way, if something new gets created, you don't automatically just start downloading it to your laptop. You would have to go in and choose to start downloading it to your laptop instead of getting in the trouble and having it overfill. This one, don't ask me, means basically I don't even want to know about new projects. You know, again, in the laptop scenario, maybe I don't care what the new projects are. I don't want it on my laptop. Maybe I want it on my desktop somewhere else, but not on this laptop. And I don't even need to be asked about it because I know I'm only syncing the data that I want already. Hide green check marks for in-sync files. When Datto synchronizes, it's going to put check marks on all your files. Then that's not something that you see like when you print it out, but on the file itself or the folder itself, when you go to access it, they'll show a little green check so that you know that it is synchronized. I discourage anybody from turning this on because it's an indicator of a problem when you don't see those green check marks. So you kind of want to be able to go into your folders, see the check marks, know that they're synchronized, know that everything's going well. If you choose to hide them, your sync could turn off, or maybe you've messed up and accidentally unchecked this over here. I've had 5 or 6 service calls now that we've simply had to put this checkbox back for people. That would be an indicator, because if that were checked and Datto Workplace was not running, then none of these green check marks would be on your files. So anytime you don't see those check marks is an indicator of a problem, and that's something that I would want to see. Enable Outlook plugin. We went over this a little bit in a previous video, but basically this allows the connection from Outlook to send your synced files as links to clients or coworkers, or anybody that you need to. It's a very helpful tool to send files that are normally too large to put into an email attachment. It's a very helpful tool also to share, say, a folder that you're going to be working with someone at another location through, or you're teaming up with somebody for a project and you want them to have access to everything you put in that folder, or maybe they should only be able to review things in that folder. Maybe they want to be able to work with you on things in that folder. That's very helpful to be able to send out through Outlook. Enable smart badges in Microsoft Office. This one also, I would say, is pretty important and should be turned on for everybody, as well as the enable automatic locking and unlocking of Microsoft Office files. What this does is every time that you're, say, in an Excel document or in a Word document, it will put a little check mark or a red X visible on the screen so that you know what the status of that document is. Say, for instance, I'm editing a document and one of my coworkers comes in and opens the exact same document on their computer. I want them to know that I'm working on it and not to mess with it. I want the system to lock it so that they can't mess with it. I don't want to be in, the last one that saves wins scenario, meaning, if I'm editing a document and somebody else has got the same document open and I save my document, they make different changes and save their document, it overwrites my document. You don't want that scenario to come to play. You want to be able to open an Excel spreadsheet, have it lock it, and tell the next person that comes along that's trying to open it, hey, somebody else is in this document, you can't edit it right now. That doesn't mean they can't view it. They'll still be able to view it, and they'll still have the red X that reminds them, hey, this is actively being used right now. Edit selective sync. Okay, not going to let us do edit selective sync until we have some folders to sync. So let's go to sync project first. This is where, if I had not had automatically sync selected, this is where I would find out or choose the folders that I want to sync. And most likely when you initially install Datto Workplace Desktop, you're going to want to come in here and choose your files to get the sync to start initially. Now, these are projects. Blue, SJC Video How-Tos, Test 2, these are all projects I've created. Datto Workplace automatically creates the personal documents project for you, and that is exactly what it says. Anything that you save in that area is going to be specific to you. It's not going to be shared out with your coworkers or anyone else. So that's a helpful area to keep things that are slightly more confidential, or maybe something you just don't want out in the company quite yet because you're working on it, something like that. Or maybe the accounting person keeps payroll files or something like that separate from everybody else's view. So if you're choosing to, you can remove or choose whichever projects you want to synchronize from here. So I could come in here and say, okay, I want to synchronize my personal documents, and I want to synchronize my SJC Video How-Tos, but I don't want to do Test 2 and I don't want to do Blue. So again, that's back to where we're able to make that choice and say, okay, I have limited space here, or I have no need for those files here. I don't want them here. That doesn't mean you can't access them on a different system or even through the web portal, but it won't synchronize them down to this computer. In most cases, you're going to want to check all of these, and then you can easily select full sync. And what's going to happen is as soon as I click OK, it's going to start synchronizing that data. It's going to tell me how many files it's synchronizing. It's going to tell me the size of those files. It's going to tell me how many projects. It's going to tell me how many files are completed, the size of the completed files. When I come all the way back out here and I click on my shortcut, now I see these files are downloading. If I click here and go to Workplace, again, I can see these files are downloading. So let's go back into Preferences again and see what else we have. Elective Sync. I can now use Elective Sync. So I need a file with some different folders in it, but in here I could actually come through and browse through the different folders I chose to. So let's do this one. This actually has some subfolders. So Elective Sync. Now Elective Sync is saying, look, I want this project, but I don't really care about this Workplace SJC Outlook plugin video. I don't want that. I want this Datto Workplace install. I want that. I want it to synchronize. That's the choices I can make in here. I could come in here and say just this one. I could come in here and say all of it. Either way, once I click OK, it's going to synchronize based on those rules. If I've already synchronized this and I come in here and I remove this, once I click OK, it's going to also remove this from your computer as well. That does not mean that it's deleted it. You would still have access to the web portal or another system that's synchronizing it depending on what your setup is. This one on sync projects, pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's kind of the same thing. If I went in here and unchecked it, it's going to remove it from my system. If I clicked here and I click on sync project, it's going to do the same thing. It's just going to remove it from this computer. It's not going to get rid of it. It will still be available on the web portal. It's just not going to be on this computer anymore. So by default, when we install this or any SJC Technology employee installs it, these will be your default settings on this page. We will set it to automatically sync. We will leave these 3 check boxes and we will start all of your projects syncing. So once all your projects are syncing and there's no more to sync, that's what you'll see, because basically it's downloading everything at that point. Folder sync, we'll probably get into this in another video. This is more of an admin level to bring new data into your sync, or say you're new to sync and you're bringing large volumes of data over from the server. We'll go into that more in another video. Backups, the way they're done in Datto Workplace is very nice, and it's a little bit of a conflict in opinions on whether a sync can truly be a backup or not. To me, I would consider it to be a backup, as long as we're not dealing with QuickBooks databases, SQL databases, as long as you're not trying to actually back up programs themselves. If you're just truly trying to back up your data specifically, this can be used for that. This will keep different revisions, and it will also keep that data for up to 45 days. So let's talk about revisions a little bit. A revision of a document is every time a document is changed. So with Datto Workplace, every time you edit, say, an Excel spreadsheet and save it, you now have created a new revision. Datto will keep the previous revision as well. So should you go in and edit your Excel spreadsheet and make a bunch of changes, save it, and come in to work the next day and open that spreadsheet and go, holy cow, what was I thinking? This is all terrible. You can then go back into Datto and say, look, I want to restore my revision before I did all this, and go back to that previous version. And it will hold those for up to 45 days. In here, you can simply go to Add Folder and selectively choose folders. If SJC Technology sets this up for you, we typically go into Manage Backup. And I like to just select Desktop right off the bat because it's helpful to guide you to where you really need to be. And where I really want to be is I want to be in my profile. So if I check this box, if I check this desktop box, it's going to help me find that should I not be familiar with the file structure. Once I come down here, then I can selectively choose what I want to back up. So most people are not really familiar with their file structure. Most people are not creating unusual folders all over the place. They're using their custom stuff. They're using the server where they've been shown. They're using their My Documents. They've got their downloads. I like to do favorites. I like to do pictures. Videos are becoming more and more common, but I usually select it just in case. You do want to keep in mind each user account through Datto Workplace is allowed up to 50 gigs. So when you're dealing with a large company, that 50 gigs adds to everybody else's 50 gigs to get a total of your project sizes. So even though you have 50 gigs, you really may be giving 20 or 30 of that back to the company for their projects, and you may only have 10 or 20 gigs available, depending on what's been set by either us or your administrator. But either event, say for instance, if you have a whole large batch of iTunes music, I don't think this would be a great place to back that up. If for whatever reason you have 200 gigs worth of documents or 200 gigs worth of downloads, if you have large volumes of data that you need to back up, there's probably better options to use than Datto Workplace. If you have very small amounts, because pretty much everything you use is truly in Workplace already, this is great. This gets you that little extra bit. When I create a file on my desktop and I save it there for some reason, and all of a sudden my computer crashes, well, I'm going to have that because this is going to synchronize that document. So these are the typical settings that we'll set here at SJC Technology. If we see something large when we initially go through the setup, we may stop and ask you about it. If you're doing this for yourself and you're more familiar with the file structure, you can choose any files pretty much anywhere. So say, for instance, you were saving large amounts of scripts in your SJC Tech folder. You simply come in here and check that as well, or downloads or reports, backups, whatever you choose to. If I chose to do this manage engine, it would do that as well. But we got to keep in mind we're only going to get data from this. If I go into program files, for instance, and I say, you know what, I want to back up everything in this CC Enhancer folder so that if my computer crashes, I still have this program. That's not going to work. There's no real data in there. It's just the program itself, and the program, if your computer would crash, would need to be reinstalled because of the way this backup works. This backup's not doing an image of your PC. It's just doing very specific data. So once we're done here, all you do is click Finish. And I'm going to go ahead and choose OK here and go back to the first page. This is kind of our main control where we see what's going on. I'm going to click on Datto again. I'm going to go to Preferences. And here I can see that it's going to start doing that backup. And it lets me know the status. Okay, I've downloaded all my projects. There were 4 of them. I've got 11 files, and this is the data size. Not very large. It's very small for our training purposes or demo purposes. This is a little larger to do the backup, but you see it's going to take about 17 minutes to do the initial one. So Datto Workplace, when you first install it and you first set things up, there's a lot of data transfer that's going to happen. It's going to download all these projects. It's going to synchronize all these projects. It's going to do your backups. It's going to upload these projects. So you really have to think about that and kind of plan out when's the best time to do that initial installation and where you want to have it when that's happening. For a lot of our clients, we actually would do this here in our office, get the synchronization completed, and then take it out on site. That way it's not bogging down their internet or your internet. Just want to keep that in mind. If your company's working and you've got 200 some gigs worth of projects, 9 a.m. in the morning is probably not the best time to start that initial sync. So again, that's where you could simply just come in and not make these selections until maybe towards the end of the day. At the end of the day, 4 o'clock or so, set automatic, set all these projects to start downloading, and it'll start coming through. So we've already got our backup set. If I ever need to check, I can always come back in here and it kind of tells me what the status of those are. I can also come out to here and click on Datto again and go to Progress. And I can come in and see what the status of my backup is here, as well as what might be going on with the sync right now. Another interesting setting out here at this level. So again, we just talked about not syncing large volumes of data initially at the busiest time of the company because you don't want to bog down your internet connection. Say you had 10 gigs of data, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if you had 200, 300 very large volumes, you wouldn't want to do that first thing in the morning. If for some reason I accidentally did that, or if for some reason I came in the morning after I started the sync and realized, look, it didn't go all night, for whatever reason my computer shut off, or for whatever reason the internet went out and I didn't get all that data downloaded, I could come back in here and I could say, you know what, I don't want to pause this. I don't want this running during the workday, so I'm going to pause this for 4 hours. So at that point, it stops that sync from continuing, allows your internet to continue on unhindered until such time as well, the 4 hours is up, or until such time as you come back in here and unpause it. Again, back into preferences, and preferences again. This is really the last setting, and to me, this is one of the most critical ones. Pretty much every time I hear that Datto Workplace or Autotask Workplace is performing slowly, it's not downloading my data very fast, it's taking forever for changes to update. Typically, this is the tab that's causing that. The Datto Workplace, Autotask Workplace has been, in my opinion, the fastest sync we've used. But by default, it's set to only go its fastest speeds from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. at night. 5 megs these days is what it will go any other time. 5 megs these days is not very fast when you consider the size of data and how much data we have, especially if you're doing an initial sync. This could literally take days and days and days to download the data at these speeds. So what I typically do is I come in here and change this from 6 a.m. to 5 a.m. So from 6 a.m. in the morning to 5 a.m. the next morning, it's going to run as fast as it possibly can. This is ideal as long as you have a reasonable internet and once you get through the initial synchronization. So once all of the data is downloaded, that first copy is synchronized, then you really want it to go as fast as you can. If that initial copy is not synchronized, it may be best to wait to do this portion till the end of your workday and then come in here and make these changes and let it just go full speed from then on out. That way, ideally, over the course of the night, it downloads your first copy, and then from then on, it's only really synchronizing small changes. So if you go in and you edit a Word document, you want it to upload that Word document as fast as it can and make it available to your other coworkers. That's where this setting comes into play. And once you click OK there, it will do a small reset and then come back at full speed. That's pretty much it for your basic settings for Datto Workplace. We will do a few more videos on sharing and the online portion coming soon. So you guys have a great day. Thank you.